humanity's learning about itself through seeing actions of manipulation. Okay. We are recognizing what manipulation is. That's on a global level. In other words, we are beginning to see things within the structures that we've depended on, and we are realizing, wait a second, was that actually built for me and for my benefit and my well-being, or for somebody else's gain? And I'm just a part that plays into their gain. That's a big, big statement. From what I see as Joanna, from what's shown to me, and I normally don't talk about these things, but they're resisting it because what's happening right now and the chaos serves their purpose. Okay? And the purpose is to control humanity's understanding of itself. Why would that someone want that? So that it can regain control over humanity. Hello, beautiful soul. Just a quick announcement that there is a link below if you would like to take advantage of my once a year only Black Friday promo. Through Black Friday, and if you have ever wanted to work with me but it just wasn't there or it wasn't the right time, I hope you take the opportunity to take advantage of that. I normally get booked 3 or 4 months in advance as soon as the sale goes on, so the sooner you grab it for yourself, the better. And I look forward and towards the honor for working with you, so I hope you do take advantage of it, and happy Black Friday. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Joanna. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with us. When I say us, I mean with my invisible team. My hope is that you will receive information that will ultimately help you navigate through life in, let's say, a more, I want to say elegant way, a less panicked way, a less anxious way, in a more positive way. So if I can contribute to that into your life, that's pretty much what my intention is. It's to help you live a life that's a little bit easier despite the chaos. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see, I would love for you to share it with a friend or two. Ultimately, this material is for the purpose of expanding our consciousness. So it's for the purpose of humanity's expansion. And when we expand, when we realize our human and non-human potential, we become different people. And as such, apparently do different things. For example, the less fear we carry within ourselves, the less likely we are to fight, judge, and be anxious. So I like that. I hope you like it too. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for being here. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist. And I was asked a few years ago by my spirit team to create a YouTube channel, to which I said, what the F for? And they said, well, you will be channeling. So apparently that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm practicing when I'm speaking to you or with you. So thank you for helping me practice this channeling thing, because not in a million years, if you asked me that 10 years ago, if I would be doing this thing called channeling, I would have laughed at your face. The reality is that we are all channels. We are all channels of energy and frequency. We all possess that within us. It's not that we possess it, we are it. We're all channels. The kind of frequency we channel will depend on the kind of life we will live, because the life we live is in accordance to the vibration that we channel. So each and every one of you is a channeler like myself. And in this instance, I am choosing to channel quote unquote higher frequency. What does that mean? As a channeler, we I have access to the, I want to use the word unknown. But it's not so much that's unknown to us, it's unknown on the human level. And when something is unknown to us on a human level, that something often becomes scary. So to think that we are all channelers, that we all channel, is potentially a little bit scary. Why? Because we are not aware that we are channeling energy. And if we are not aware that we are channeling energy, we will not be able to work effectively with that awareness or unawareness. In other words, I'll put it in a different way. If we don't know why planet is the way it is, as in chaos, if we don't know why, then we will not be able to fix it. In other words, in order for something to be quote unquote fixed, we have to first understand how things work. Because without the knowing how it works, there's no fixing. What are we fixing? What are we fixing? Now, the idea of fixing implies that something is broken. None of you, or none of what's happening is broken. It's in perfect order, except it's not the type of order that we humans are used to. We are not used to, well, actually, that's not true. What I was going to say is that we are not used to experiencing disorder. Well, I'm like, well, wait a second. Actually, I think that's exactly what we're used to. And I just heard precisely. So humanity has been living in this unawareness of itself for a very long time. And we are in times of transition. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know that. You feel it. You feel it within yourself as well. So as humanity goes through transitions, we individually go through our own transitions. And transitions are just that. They're periods. They're periods of change. Let's use the analogy with time. They're periods of change. So a transformation really denotes change. And the change is on a fundamental level. That is, you and I and the entire planet is undergoing a massive transformation. I think we all know that. They're saying, it's the kind of transformation that turns roses into trees. And I said, that's impossible. And they said, precisely. The type of transformation where we experience the impossible being possible. Imagine that. My brain is doing circles right now trying to figure out what was just said, but I'm just going to let that go because it's beyond my pay grade. So through this transformation process, we are beginning to see ourselves truly for who we really are. That we are not just the body, that we are essentially light or energy. And energy has a certain frequency, it has certain movement, it has mobility. It's never still, it's never stuck. Apparently it's never stuck, it's always flowing. It's the type of fluidity and ease with life that we as humanity are wanting to experience, hence the change, hence the transformation. In other words, we as humanity are moving towards more fluidity and more trust with life, flow with life, and much less resistance and extreme overstructure. Because when there is extreme overstructure, energy cannot flow. And when energy cannot flow, it cannot create new. So we are essentially in a process of recreating the old into something new. And that newness is not known to us yet in terms of what it means and what it represents. We just know that something is changing, something is transforming, something is happening. And as a result, fear arises, okay? When you look at the idea of chaos, chaos generally involves at least some level of fear, okay? Because chaos denotes lack of control, and it denotes lack of clarity, confusion. Thank you. And when we are confused, we don't feel safe. Think about the idea of you being confused. When you are confused, do you feel solid and safe? Generally not. And we are in a massive state of confusion right now. What is what? What if this is not what I thought it was? We are, in fact, we're all confused right now. If you ask each and every person what they want, every single person will probably say something different. Out of life, okay? If we are, and we are, moving towards unity, that means that we have to have a common goal. So if we as humans cannot find a common goal, then will we ever work towards a common goal? The answer is no. We won't, because we don't have a common goal. We have individual goals, but we don't have a common goal. Or so it seems like that. Well, in fact, we do. If you really think about it, what most people want is peace. That's the final destination. Okay? Here's the problem. Everybody's idea of peace is different. Give me my peace. How on earth can I give you your peace? If it's your peace, then it's yours. It's not mine. It's not a mine possession. It's in your possession, isn't it? It's in you, no? So, are we there then saying that we are all fighting for peace? We are fighting for peace, but there is no peace within the fight itself. So as long as we keep fighting, there is no peace. Well, that's confusing. That's a conundrum. Why is it a conundrum? Well, because in order to experience peace, we have to stop fighting. In order to stop fighting, we have to first understand, why do we fight? Why do we fight? For what? If we are fighting for the same goal, then why on earth are we fighting? We can only fight if there's an opposition. But aren't we working towards a common goal? Humanity does not seem to have a common goal. Humanity at large, not everybody. Yet, everyone wants to have peace. So we seem to have a goal, but then we seem to go about it in a whole bunch of different ways. How is that ever going to work? That's what humanity is going through right now. It's the recognition of that. We as humanity have a common goal, but we are not working together towards the common goal. If we are not working together towards the common goal, then we are working against each other or in opposition to each other. That could effectively be called war. Is that what we want as humanity? Most would say no. Some would say yes. Why would some say yes? Because those who say yes, thrive on chaos. Okay? Not necessarily their chaos, the chaos they've created. And when we are in chaos, we focus on the chaos, and we don't even realize that there is this other thing happening that is influencing us, and we're not in recognition of that influence because we're focusing on chaos. I'm not sure Joanna, how to take this, but the only way that I see it right now is what's being shown to me is that when we are focusing on chaos, we are much more easily influenced without even knowing that we are being influenced because we're not paying attention. there's a message there with a question mark and an exclamation mark. So something for you to ponder. Okay. On the other hand, if we stop focusing on the chaos, we're not going to be contributing to the chaos. And if we don't contribute to the chaos, then there's no war. Then we can shift our attention to the common goal that we have, which apparently everyone wants peace. What is this peace thing and where is it coming from? Can you please give me some peace? Last time I checked, peace comes from inside me as Joanna. I cannot purchase $10 worth of peace. I would buy $1,000 worth of peace, hoping it goes on sale so I can buy some more. To experience your own peace, we have to be in a certain exchange energetically, because we are all energetic beings and we all are connected, so we all influence each other. In other words, something chaotic, if you focus on it, will influence your level of peace. Okay? On the other hand, if you focus your peace on the chaos, you will influence the chaos in a peaceful way. And they're saying, think strictly in terms of energy. Okay. So although yes, peace comes from within, how you interact with your world will determine the level of peace that you feel within. If you are attached to chaos, more specifically your inner chaos, then that chaos will reduce the level of peace that you feel, and it will consequently raise your levels of anxiety. If you're feeling anxious lately, just ask yourself the question, what am I focusing on? Where is my mind going? Because what you are experiencing is relative to what you are feeling is relative to what you are experiencing. And there's a lot of chaos going on right now. They're saying what you put your mind to depends on what end result you want. So, if your end result is to experience peace, are you focusing on peace, internal peace, or are you focusing on the external chaos? There's no right or wrong here. Both are available. The question is, how do we want to feel? Do you want to feel peace? Do you want to feel chaos? Now, in general, most humans will say, well, of course I want to feel peace. Don't be silly. Well, the question is then, why are you focusing on chaos? Stop focusing on the chaos. I don't know how. What do you mean you don't know how? Identify what the chaos is first and foremost, inside of yourself. Humanity is needing to look at inside of themselves to figure out what the hell is going on inside of me that I have this need to focus on chaos. Because if you didn't have the need to focus on it, then why would you focus on it? Clearly you must have a need. Interesting. If you have a need for something, you will go towards it. Okay, so let's explore this for a bit. Why would we have the need for chaos? Well, they're saying without chaos, there can be no order. That's interesting. Without chaos, there can be no order. Order comes from chaos. Okay, it's like chaos is necessary in order to create order, but chaos without order is chaos. Chaos with order is structure. So, because we are in transformative times, and what that really means, that as humanity, we are in a process of restructuring, and that's also will be felt on a individual level. If we're on the process of restructuring, then that means that we are letting go of old structures. And we need to first identify what is a structure that is no longer working. And does this structure keeps me in chaos or allows me to live more in peace? Fear is the big culprit. Too much fear, not a good idea. Not enough fear, not a good idea. We often talk about the idea of balance. Balance is different things to different people. If you want to have balance of being fearful and having absolutely no fear, does that mean that 50% of the time you have no fear and 50% of the time you are very fearful? I wouldn't say that. I would say, there's a tiny part of you, 5% of you, that needs to be really fearful so they can prevent you from premature death. The other 95%, stress-free. It seems that right now the world is opposite. We are constantly in this space of fear. They're saying that fear limits our freedom. That's because fear keeps us narrow-minded. When we are in fear, the first instinct is to survive. Okay? When we are in fear, we're not going to be looking at all the different options and trying to figure out which is best for me. You're going to grab the first exit and you're going to run, however and whoever it's presented to you by. So also in fear, we tend to make choices that we otherwise would not make. Either it's because those are the only choices we see, or we can't see any other choices. Okay, or I'll say it differently. Perhaps it's because that's the only choice there's only one choice presented, but we can't see other choices. Even though there are other choices, when we are in fear, we cannot see these other choices. So it might as well not be presented. Now, you know the old saying, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. You live next to someone, I'm sure, who has a dog. Just because you can't see that dog 3 houses down the road doesn't mean the dog is not there. It's there, fully alive and available. So I want to say the universe is teaching us or giving us opportunity to learn how we see everything. And looking at the dynamics of how we survive and what we do in order to survive. Most people, without even knowing it, are most of the time in survival mode. Like cavemen who would have been attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. Okay. He would have been chased by a tiger, adrenaline and anxiety full on, fear probably through the roof, but after he loses the tiger, he goes to his cave and he relaxes. We humans apparently enjoy the process of being chased by a tiger because we constantly feel like we are being chased by a tiger. We're constantly in fear of being eaten. Now that's very anxiety producing. Obviously, the being eaten is a metaphor because we are not being eaten, but when we are running away from something, then that's stressful. What are we running away from? See, the problem is we don't know who we are yet, so why are we trying to run away from it? What are you trying to run away from? We are all trying to be better. But better than what? Better than your current version? Well, we have to recognize first, what is our current version? The reason why I say version is because right now you're living your life, experiencing your life through your current version, a version of you that you have created for the purpose of experiencing this life through a human ego. There's many, many, many versions of you. And that's a tricky one to grasp for the human brain. Okay? In fact, your human brain is incapable of grasping it because it's beyond its grasp. In order to grasp that, we have to allow ourselves to step out of our human brain, our analytical brain, and see things from different perspectives. And some people are willing to do that. Some people are choosing to do that. Some people are paying no attention to that. And some people are saying, no way, I'm not doing that. And I'm asking the question, well, why wouldn't you want to look through a different perception? And I get, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. So some parts of humanity, humans, are resisting this big change. There's no blame being put on anybody, but that's a big picture view. Why are they resisting change? From what I see as Joanna, from what's shown to me, and I normally don't talk about these things, but they're resisting it because what's happening right now and the chaos serves their purpose. Okay? And the purpose is to control humanity's understanding of itself. Why would that someone want that? So that it can regain control over humanity. I, as Joanna, am saying, okay, that's a little bit too much for me. It's out of my comfort zone. I'm talking about things I normally don't talk about. And I'm just supposed to relax. I am not a extremist to any stretch of the imagination. I'm also not one that falls towards what is the word? Theories. I forget what the word is. But anyway, humanity's learning about itself through seeing actions of manipulation. Okay. We are recognizing what manipulation is. That's on a global level. In other words, we are beginning to see things within the structures that we've depended on, and we are realizing, wait a second, was that actually built for me and for my benefit and my well-being, or for somebody else's gain? And I'm just a part that plays into their gain. That's a big, big statement. And I don't feel like I want to open that up right now. Our current humanity's version is on the verge of freeing itself. From the realization that they're human only. In other words, most of humanity realizes that they're just human, which is interesting because I believe like it's 90% of the world population believes in quote unquote God. But everybody's idea of God is very different. I just heard everybody believes in God. Well, not everybody, clearly. 90%, let's say. But nobody wants to trust God with the process of what's going on in the world. And this process is apparently divinely guided. So some of you might say, how on earth is chaos divinely guided? Well, remember, chaos is part of change and transformation. We create order out of chaos. So in order for there to be new order, there first has to be chaos. Cannot happen any other way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, us experiencing chaos is not comfortable. Not at all. And we have to be willing to go through that uncomfortability. Okay? Now, when I say willing, you are willing because you're here. You are in experience of it. Okay? Both your own chaos and the external chaos. We can escape from the external chaos, but we can never escape from our internal chaos. Yet, the external chaos is the result of our internal chaos as it's held by humans' consciousness, consciousness at large, human consciousness at large. In other words, our individual inner chaos plays into the collective's chaos. That's why we experience chaos, because we experience what we vibrate. So I'm going back and forth between macro and micro. The question I ask is, well, if we all individually release from our inner chaos, is that going to change everything? And they're saying, well, yes, look at your life right now. Everything that you are experiencing, you have created with your mind. You are the creator of your life, co-creator of your life. In other words, what you believe is right in front of you. So if we all release ourselves from our internal chaos, which basically stems from the unrecognition of who we really are, because the moment we recognize who we really are, chaos almost ceases to exist. It's an experience, but it's a lot less chaotic. It has a different feel to it. So what's being said is that when each and every one of us experiences less chaos on the inside, we will effectively experience less chaos on the outside, but each and every individual has to do that, or at least the vast majority. And if you are here listening to this, you're right smack in the middle of it, right here, right now. Likely you are experiencing some internal chaos right now. The energies that I have been experiencing lately are kind of wonky. It's just like, I feel very uncomfortable. I have these anxieties coming up for no apparent reason. The whole non-sleeping thing, I can write a book on that. Just feeling and uninspired and deflated. You might actually be feeling also like there's lack of options in your life, or your life is stale. And they encouraged me to talk about it because they said I wasn't the only one feeling this. So I said, okay, why is this? Why are we feeling this right now? This energy feels very draining. It feels very heavy. It's like a dark cloud. And basically what they showed me was the idea of a nut being cracked open. This energy is like a nut being cracked open. Yeah. So just imagine you being a nut and just being cracked open. Imagine you living in a shell, and the shell is part of you, and then all of a sudden one day something cracks you open and your shell falls apart and exposes the true you. It's a very vulnerable process. So what I was seeing is that a whole bunch of wounds may be coming up right now. I'm hearing the word Holy of Holies. Holy of Holies. Many of you might be tuning in or turning to different deities. It's a very specific message. What they're saying is, whatever deity or God you work with, make sure that you are aligned with what this deity or God represents. So, if you believe that the God you believe in is an angry God, don't align yourself with an angry God. Align yourself with the God that's all-loving. Okay. Similarly, If you're in a company of people who have a lot of hate or criticism for others or just low vibrating, why would you want to be aligned with those energies? You're clearly not on the same page unless you want to feel the same way. They're saying choose how you feel based on what you desire. What does that mean? Okay, well, we generally desire things or situations that will make us feel a certain way. So when we think in terms of money, it's not a piece of paper that we are desiring. We're desiring the idea of freedom, travel, safety, security. Those are all perceptions, feelings, and ideas that come to us when we think of money. But money in and of itself, without all those attached meanings, is meaningless, absolutely meaningless. It's only meaningful because we've attached a meaning to it. Okay. Look at your life right now and ask yourself this question. What do I find meaningful in my life? What does meaningful mean to me? What is meaningful? Full of meanings. We as society are looking at meanings right now. We're looking at all these labels. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? And we are restructuring how we relate to these labels, because we have a relationship with the labels we place on things. If I place a high value on money in terms of what it represents, then that's my relationship with it. Okay. If I connect with money with the idea of fear, then that's my relationship with it. The idea of money is going to make me feel a certain way, fearful, or I don't know, some other way, empowered maybe. Okay. We are realizing that everything we look at has a meaning that we attach to it. We attach meaning to everything and everyone and every situation. So if we attach a meaning that money is bad, then our experience of money is bad, because that's our understanding of what money is. Okay. I just ask, can you experience something you don't believe in? Can you experience something you don't believe in? And they're saying, well, if you don't believe in it, you won't create it. If you don't believe in something, you're not going to create it. And they said, correct. For example, if you don't believe that you're ever going to be happy, you're not going to create your own happiness, because you just sold yourself on the idea that you will never be happy. Okay, that makes sense. Now, since you're your own creator and you're a powerful creator, what you decide happens. You don't think about it that way, but what you decide happens. Now, of course, on a conscious level, well, most people would not say, I don't want to be happy. Most people want to be happy. I haven't met a person yet in my over 20 years of doing this work that say, Joanna, please help me be more unhappy. It's not how it works. Yet what we assign meaning to is often what we consider making us happy. So is it the meaning we assign to something that makes us happy, or is it that we decide to be happy by thinking we're going to do this, or get this, or this? I'm not sure how that works, but do we assign happiness as meaning to something, or do we decide to be happy and then we're gonna go after things? Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a distinction being made here. And I'm saying, which one is true happiness? And they're saying, you're deciding to be happy. And then whatever meaning you add to assign to whatever it is one, that's up to you. The moment you decide to be happy, anything you attach meaning to, it's almost irrelevant, because you've decided to be happy. That's interesting. My mind is trying to process it. So, the title of today's video was said to be Prepare Yourself for Big Outcomes. I'm like, So obviously we are going through something. Obviously. And they said humanity is going through a denaturation process. And I thought that was really interesting because my apologies, I accidentally turned off the camera. So yes, they said we're going through a denaturation process, and I had to look up the word denaturation because I didn't even know what it meant. So basically a denaturation process is breaking up of weak linkages or bonds when it comes to cells or proteins. But they said this is what humanity is going through. And I thought that was a very interesting way of putting it, because essentially what they're saying is that humanity is going through a process of breaking of weak bonds and linkages. And I said, why? And they said, because it's essential to finding new ways and establishments. So that's happening on a global scale. And chaos is a big part of that. Okay? If things seem chaotic in your life right now, if you feel like you don't know whether you're coming or going, chances are quite high that something is shifting and changing for you, probably in a positive way, but you can't see it yet. Because you too are reforming, you too are restructuring. Your life is reforming or restructuring. And everybody goes through their own restructuring process in different ways, depending on where they're at in their own evolution. So you might be going through a lot of transformation right now that feels chaotic, and your neighbor might be like, oh my God, this is the best years of my life, because he or she is at a different level of maturation. Okay, that's how they're going through their process, and this is how you're going through your process. Therefore, it is important that we do not compare our processes to other people, because there's a whole bunch of different variations and differentiations. We may feel and experience common themes, like, for example, high-level depression because you don't know what you want, because your life has lost a meaning, because your ego is being restructured. Okay, but in terms of how it is expressed in your life and what you do with it, that each person will have a different experience. So it's important, they're saying, not to compare yourself to others in terms of your own human evolution. Okay. Now, as I'm looking at it, though, is even though they're saying don't compare yourself, I can see that there is a trajectory. There's a almost like a trajectory that we follow, and humanity is on a trajectory. You are also, as a human, on a trajectory. As a soul, you're on a trajectory. So, your life as you know it, and life of humanity as you know it, is unfolding right now. And they're showing me an idea of bed that's folded, and then it's unfolding. Before we can comfortably rest and experience less levels of anxiety and more relaxation and peace of mind, we first have to do the hard work. It's like you can't have apples without planting the apple tree. Before we plant the apple tree, we need to make sure that the soil is fertile. Because if the soil is not fertile and we plant a tree, then the yield of that tree is not going to be great. So much depends on the soil, which is foundation. Okay? As humanity, we are uprooting and then clearing our old systems' foundations. So your own inner systems and foundations are also in the process of being uprooted. Okay, and that's not a joyride. It's an uncomfortable process. So that's why you might be feeling a little bit like, ugh, what's going on? It's again, another analogy. Imagine you're standing on a carpet and somebody just jerked the carpet or pulled, and you didn't fall, but you lost stability. We're not experiencing a lot of stability right now in the world. I feel we haven't been for a while, but it's I want to say it's at its peak high. I don't know for sure. That's what I'm getting. There was another one I feel in Atlantis is being shown to me, but that's as far as recent history, modern history. It feels like it's I want to say it's never been worse. That's kind of sad to say if that's true, because if we as humanity have grown and evolved, but we're experiencing worse times, then have we grown? Then that means we haven't learned. And I think I want to say precisely. We've gotten ourselves some phenomenal gadgets and our technology is through the roof. But as far as us understanding ourselves as human beings, it feels like we haven't gone very far. I just heard you're still in the monkey brain. Monkey see, monkey do. Okay. Monkey. That's an interesting monkey brain. Analytical, I feel they mean the monkey brain, the reptilian brain, survival brain. Okay, thank you. We're still in survival. We're still in consciousness that's primarily preoccupied with the idea of survival. And that's because survival is all about death, right? If there was no idea of death, there would be no need for survival. Okay. So as human beings, we naturally, fear death, I would say, on some level. Some are not, but for the most part, most people fear death, even just biologically, because the body is designed to survive. So any situation where your body believes that it's going to die, it's going to sound alarm clocks because it doesn't want to die. It wants to keep going, right? It's pro-life. Same with ego. Ego is deathly afraid of death. Point being is this. We fear death because we are afraid of dying, because we believe that dying means the end. Now imagine humanity didn't have that awareness. And instead the awareness it had was, there is no death, it's just another way of being. Would we as humanity be as afraid of death? And would we then be so focused on survival so much? Because there's a tremendous level of fear connected to survival. The answer would be likely no. So if you, for example, believe that you're not going to die, because there's no such thing as dying, you're just transforming into some other form that's way more expansive than who you think you are right now, then you're going to relax about the whole idea of death. Will you look towards it? No, probably not, but you're not going to be fearing it nearly as much. Imagine that being your consciousness. And imagine that being humanity's consciousness. Can you imagine how different life would be? All this need for survival is very stressful. That is not to say that we humans should not care about surviving. Of course, because we have a finite body. Okay? But to be preoccupied with it is something very different. They're saying to me, everything you do is for survival. Or majority of things that we do is for survival. We go to work, survival. Of course, it can bring us pleasure, but most people go to work because they need money. Money buys you food, shelter. That's all survival. Throw that, the idea of being afraid of getting old or dying, it makes the focus on survival that much more. It's not to say we shouldn't focus on it at all. It's the over-focusing on it. I just asked, well, if there is no survival, then what do you have? And I just heard, well, you choose. What do you want? If you release the clutches of survival fear, if you release that, then what are you going to put your energy to? I don't know. Peace? Pleasure? I just said, well, what about hard work? And I heard, well, what about it? I just heard, why do you believe you have to work hard to get somewhere? Where did you get that from? I'm like, well, isn't that true? It's a belief. I have a hard time grasping that one. That's a tricky one. They're saying, well, when you say I have to work harder, it's because you believe that working harder is good. Otherwise, why would you say I need to work harder? Because you don't want something? That's not why you work harder. You work harder because you believe it's good to work harder because it's going to give you something in return. It's a belief. That doesn't mean that you're not a hard worker. It doesn't mean you're not passionate. It doesn't mean that you don't put a lot of work in something that you do and love. It doesn't mean that. But the believing that you have to work hard, or life has to be hard, or you have to work hard, that's a belief. I said, well, if we don't have that mechanism that we need to work hard, then we're all going to get lazy. And they're saying, true laziness comes from not being engaged in life. Why would you not want to be engaged with life? So what you're saying is we can be engaged in life, more fully engaged in life, and we don't have to work as hard. We don't have to believe that we have to work very hard. It's like having the cake and eating the cake. So what I'm getting here is this. We have a whole bunch of beliefs. Some of the beliefs we hold about ourselves are absolutely ridiculous. For example, I'm going to just throw this in there because it's funny. I am a nobody. Really? Well, if you're saying that you're a nobody, who's the you saying that you, without you being a nobody, you can't say that you're a nobody. So clearly you're a somebody. You're somebody. The question is, what version is that? What version of somebody is that? Is this a happy being? Is this a sad being? Is this a curious being? Is this a fearful being? And many, many others. Which version of you is that? I just heard someone say to me, well, how would I know? Well, if you don't know what version of you is talking, then you don't know yourself. It's not a good thing. Why is it not a good thing? Because if other people know you better than you know yourself, then, dare I say, you're easily manipulated. I'm going to leave that one lingering there for a moment. I think we're all, as humans, being manipulated in some way, shape, or form. And I don't necessarily mean the word manipulated in a vicious way or in some manipulative, bad way. We are being influenced all the time. We are manipulators as well. We manipulate energy all the time. We influence things all the time. We just don't, when we manipulate things, we don't assign the label as bad. When I say manipulate, I don't mean that in a negative way. You manipulate energy all the time. Think of yourself as a frequency conductor. You conduct your frequency in whichever direction you want. You're just not conscious about it. In other words, if you're not conscious about it, you might as well just be giving it away. Who has your energy? Who has your trust? Do you trust certain people or certain authorities with your trust? I guess that depends what you want from your authorities. Okay. I don't know where that one is coming from, but it's a question. That's an interesting question. Who you are and what you want is your responsibility. How you go about that responsibility is entirely yours. Who you are and what you want is your responsibility. Okay, we need to decide who we want to be and how we want to go about it. So I feel like it's talking to the previous point about, what does humanity want at large as a unity? We need to decide for ourselves, what do we want? Who do I want to be? Or who am I? And take more responsibility for what that is. Again, if we choose to be happy, we have to take responsibility for our happiness and stop giving the responsibility to something outside of ourselves. Okay? My job is going to make me happy. More money is going to make me happy. A partner is going to make me happy. Nothing and no one will make you happy. You will. Remember, happiness is not from the outside. It is influenced by outside, yes, and your relationship to the outside. But happiness comes from within. There are so many unhappy people running around blaming others for their unhappiness. It doesn't work that way. If you are unhappy, choose to be happy. Easier said than done. Remember, your entire experience is happening on the inside of you, not on the outside of you. Okay? Now, because we assign meaning to the outside, we think it's happening on the outside. No, it's not. It's an inside job. Humanity is realizing that everything is an inside job. And that's a big responsibility. The gods we are searching from outside that are so beautifully displayed in our churches, it's not where God lives. It's not even that God lives. God is. Just is. And it's a part of you. Humanity is a part of quote-unquote God. It just doesn't see itself that way. Because it doesn't believe that quote-unquote God exists. God is a force. It's not a thing. It's not a human. It's not a being. It's not an animal. Although, actually, it is. It's all of that. All at once. That's what God is. God is imperceptible. We can't perceive it. Therefore, we will never be able to measure it. Therefore, we will never be able to prove it because we are within it. We are it. We are it. How do you prove that? How do you prove that? You being an emoting being is God's source at work. If you want to measure that by hooking you up to a whole bunch of different machines, well, then there's your proof. Your heart is beating and the machine tells you that. There's your proof that there's God, because you're it. That's a hard one to grasp, even for me, Joanna. Even though on a certain level, I know it, but my human ego brain is doing circles right now. All right, I would love to ask a huge favor of you. This channel can only exist because people like you watch it. The more people watch it, the more this information that I'm channeling has the opportunity to be put into practice. And my intention with my team is to essentially help us all remember who we really are beyond our human flesh and bones, and that we are incredibly powerful beings. So if you could be so kind and share this video, click the notification bell, subscribe, comment. It tells the algorithm of YouTube that there is something worthwhile watching. It tremendously helps me and the team that I work with. And at the end of the day, I'm doing my part to make this world a little bit of a better place. And I hope that you can join me in the same by just doing those little things and helping me give this information to as many people as possible. Thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with your messages. Let's see what we have for 3 piles. So obviously the theme is the same. Prepare yourself for big outcomes. Let's see what might be happening for you, pile number 1. Healing old wounds around relationships. Chakras are heart chakra stuff and insights. I will tune into each one. Pile number 1. It would be advisable for you to look at some unhealed wounds around relationships, or the idea of relationships, okay? Romantic relationships especially, okay? Because your idea of what a relationship should look like is skewed. I'm saying, well, what do you mean skewed? If it's skewed, then that means there must be some other way of looking at relationships, and there is a gazillion different ways of looking at relationships. When I say skewed, I mean that your belief or idea of what a relationship is does not match the relationship that you want. It doesn't match that. In other words, your desires are not matching how you are currently vibrating. So we could call it a simple law of attraction. Okay. Here's the thing. It's not that you are not attracting relationships. You are attracting, quote unquote, the wrong relationships, or the ones you really don't want. So you are attracting relationships that you don't want. Then why are you attracting them to yourself? You have to ask yourself this question. If I attract relationships to myself that I don't want, why do I keep attracting them? Likely because there is a part of you that's still wounded in terms of here's what I'm getting. Part of you holds yourself responsible for your parents' unhealed relationship. So whether your parents got divorced, whether they were toxic, whether there was turmoil in their relationship, you hold yourself somehow responsible for that. And as children, unfortunately, that's what we do. We take on things that don't belong to us. It's because that's what happens. We're very impressionable. Okay, we believe in our younger years that our entire world is about us. That's what we believe, because that's how the ego develops. And so we begin to believe that whatever is happening in our world must have something to do with us. Okay. Remember the denaturing process I was talking about, that we're going through as a whole, as humanity? You need to look at, you understand. You don't need to do anything. But in order to heal from it, in order to not attract those relationships anymore, you need to look at this part of you that is somehow holding on to you feeling responsible for either your parents' relationship demise or toxic relationships, especially during your first 7 years. Okay. You have a tendency to want to fix relationships or people in relationships. You can't fix anybody. You can't fix anybody. Well, for one, they're not broken. Okay, you understand the analogy. But also, two, if you're wanting to fix people in relationships, then that means to me that maybe the reason why you attract these relationships is because you have a need to fix. You have a need to fix people in relationships. It's almost like you identify yourself with this needing to fix. Because you have this need to fix, you will inevitably attract people who need fixing. The question is this what you still want? And what I'm getting is the answer is no, and breaking the pattern. Okay? Fixing other people's problems is not your responsibility, never was, never will be. But unfortunately, you took it on too soon. It's because you didn't know any different. Okay? And that's interesting. You learned how to manipulate your own emotions in order to stay stable in that relationship. It's almost like you've denied yourself your true feelings. So you are pile number one, likely attracting relationships where you deny your own feelings in those relationships because you have a high need to fix. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing is that kind of relating is very, I want to say dismissive of you. And I'm saying, why dismissive? And they're saying it's because it focuses on other people. You're focusing your energy on other people. And as a result, you're not taking care of yourself. And that's not a great thing. Taking care of yourself emotionally speaking. If you are fixated on fixing other people and their emotions, you are likely not spending time and focusing on, or maybe even analyzing your own emotions and regulating your own emotions. Because if part of your identity is to need people to fix, there's a reason why you have that. And the reason always goes to what I'm being shown, generally one thing, and that's being needed. Okay? Perhaps you have a high need to be needed. Generally, when someone has a high need to be needed, it always leads to the fear of not being safe, being left alone, being abandoned, being denied, being rejected. So the root of it all is basically rejection. By rejecting or denying your feelings, you are rejecting yourself in the process. So in those relationships, you will likely feel rejected. But it's not that they're rejecting you. You're rejecting yourself. You're just projecting that onto them. Okay, so there's a lot of projection going on in your relationships, or at least the ones that you're used to. Okay? It's a very toxic pattern. It's because you get this idea in your head that somehow doesn't matter what you do is not enough. It's not what you do, it's who you are being in that relationship. You're not being true to yourself. That's all you have to do. And the relationship would unfold accordingly. And those who are not aligned with you, who you really are going to fall off. There's no point holding onto a relationship that fundamentally doesn't serve you anymore. Now, if you do, then that means that some part of you still needs it. It's a bit like a drug. Okay? Pile number one, you want to unhook yourself from that. And it's interesting that we have this insight or the third eye, because it's all about your view of you and how you see yourself. They're saying how people see you or view you is generally supported by how you see yourself. But it's not how they see you, it's how you think they see you, how you believe they see you. For example, if you say, well, this person thinks that I'm small, just use that analogy, small. Give me a different example. Well, this person believes that I'm not capable. No, it's you believe that you're not capable. Here's what I want to say. They may believe that you're not capable, but if you are firm within yourself that you are a capable person, then all you have is a difference of opinion. Okay? Doesn't mean you're not capable, but if you choose to believe that person, then so be it. You're too easily influenced by how you think people see you. And because of that, your inner being is feeling shaky. You're not feeling strong within yourself, and not because I feel that when you were younger, you didn't have a lot of emotional support. You didn't feel safe. I believe that at the very basis of that is you fundamentally don't feel safe. Okay? And you attract relationships because, we feel safer in relationships, but ultimately these relationships actually uproot the feeling of you not feeling safe. So there's a few things going on. Lack of safety in relationships or feeling safe in relationships, and also high need to fix other people and need to be needed, high need to be needed. All of those needs are influencing how you show up in the world and who you attract. Okay? And those are all beliefs, stories. It would behoove you, pile number one, to look at these beliefs right now, because as we go through this time of massive transformation, transformation also means that we are in a process of exchange. So we are in a process of letting go and starting something new. Energetically speaking, the energy right now is very supportive of helping us create whatever we put our effort and attention to, whether it's a conscious effort or conscious attention. If you believe that you are not needed or you are not capable, the universe is going to support you in that and bring you corresponding information, corresponding real experience. So you want to be mindful of that. Okay? You want to make sure that in the next little while, as soon as you can, you want to ask yourself this question. If my relationships are not working, or if they're not working to my desires, why is it so? If I feel incomplete in a relationship, why is it so? What would I need in order to feel complete? Well, I want someone to love me, okay? What does that look like? Okay. Well, I just want them to love me. Well, people do love you, they just don't love you the way you need to be loved. So maybe you need to communicate that you need to be loved in this specific way. Okay? It's not so much the emotions, the actions. It's you don't believe that people love you because of their actions or lack of actions towards you. Okay? They love you the best way they know how. It may just not be the best for you. But the question then becomes, are you okay with that? If you're not feeling fulfilled because someone is not loving you the way you want to be loved, you have two options. You have either accept this is how they are loving you. You might have a conversation saying, hey, I would prefer, or I would wish for this and this and this, and present it. Okay? If they're not capable to give that to you, then you either accept it for what it is, or you choose something different. Okay? Or you ignore it as your third option, but I wouldn't ignore that. Because if you do, and I feel that that's what you've been doing, if you do, it's just going to perpetuate the process of you not being happy, constant. Okay? I want to say, pile number one, get out of your own emotional cycle of needing to be needed, okay? And fearing that you're going to be stuck without somebody, stuck with nobody, stuck, fearing that you're going to get stuck. Perhaps actually you were stuck in relationships before, but again, 9 times out of 10, for those of you who are listening, you are not really stuck. You were emotionally stuck, but you were there. You volunteered to be there. You didn't have a chain tied to your leg and that chain tied to a wall, right? And I'm using this extreme example just to signify that we always, almost always, with very few exceptions, are in a position of choosing. We just don't realize that we are choosing. Okay. So pile number one, it's for you to help you realize that you have choices, you have options. You just need to know what it is exactly that you want and decide how you are going to go after it or go about it. And that requires you to change your ways. Okay. So that's what I have for pile number one. Okay, pile number two, let's see what we have for you as far as preparing yourself for big outcomes. Truth be told, victory and success, and empowerment. Okay, now all of them showed up in reverse. Let me see what wants to come through. This is not the time, pile number two, to refuse to see things clearly. This is not the time to refuse to see things clearly. Why not? Because you are robbing yourself of opportunities if you don't. I said, how do they know if they're not seeing clearly? They said, simple. Ask yourself this question. Am I seeing clearly in this situation? Am I seeing clearly? Okay. Or what is it I am not seeing? What is it that I'm seeing that I want to see? What is it that I don't want to see? Okay, what are you not wanting to see? Or what are you not seeing? And I want to say the words in relationship. Okay? This could be in relationship to anything, including relationship with your half, but this feels like an external relationship. What is it that you don't want to see? What is it that you're afraid to see? And whatever it is that you're afraid to see, what do you think is going to happen if you see it? Okay? Because if you are afraid to see something, then you're afraid of what's going to happen. Okay? Maybe you're not seeing it because you don't want heightened clarity. I'm like, why wouldn't anyone want heightened clarity? And I just heard simple, because it denotes change. Maybe you're refusing to see clearly, or you're denying yourself clarity because you're afraid of change. Because clarity means that things are clear, things are a lot more available to you. Clarity, generally more clarity denotes shift or move or change towards something that's desired. Okay? Not having clarity doesn't give you that. So whatever the situation is for you, it's not that you're not desiring clarity, it's that you're afraid of being clear. You're afraid of seeing things clear. And that's because to see things clear, you have to let go of something. Okay? Just remember that we're in a transformation process. Okay? So this is not the time to not see things clearly. What I'm also seeing is life flowing through you. And it came in resistance. So right now, it's like you're in resistance to life flowing through you. Now, as I say it, life flows through you all the time. You know, in fact, there's no thing called life. Life is what you make of it. It's a force is flowing through you, and you experience it, and you call that life. Something wants to flow through you, but you're either not recognizing it, you're not allowing it, or you're resisting it. What is that? I feel like some of you feel like you need more education. While education is great, I feel that if you are looking for education, you're using that as a distraction from doing what you want. They're saying you can't escape from knowing what you want. That you know. You can't escape from it. You know what you want. You can deny it, but you know what you want. Okay? To want it, to desire it, means there is something in it for you to gain from. You want something for a reason. Identify what the reason is for your desire. What is the reason for your desire? For example, I want to be more content. Okay? What does contentment look like? How does contentment feel? What would that look like for in your life? What is contentment for you? Or whatever your answer is. I just heard contentment means I don't live in other people's minds. So you believe you live in other people's minds. Okay, let me tune into that. You believe that you are on many people's minds. Okay? Why would that be important for me to see? The only thing that I'm getting here, which is interesting, is that you believe that people think about you all the time and they talk about you and they talk bad things. But what I want to say is that's what you believe. It's not true. That's not to say that some people don't think about you. I'm not saying that, but it's like you are way too preoccupied with what other people think. Way too preoccupied, too attached, in fact, to what other people think or what other people think about you. While it is important to be cordial and to be nice and to be kind, because you don't want to live in a society when people think of you as a bad person. There's a fine line between caring and over caring to your detriment. You, pile number 2, care too much about what other people think. Okay? You have to ask yourself the question, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? Why is it important for you what people think? Okay? Because what you're doing is you're externalizing a form of your happiness. You're making it external, and you know how that goes. Whenever we externalize something, we give our desire a place on the outside to draw from. In other words, something outside of us becomes the source of our inner, let's say, happiness. If something is outside of you and you depend on it for your inner happiness, then it cannot be your inner happiness. It's an outer happiness. Again, although it is great to care about what people think, believing that what people think is gonna destroy you, okay, interesting, is not a good thing, okay? People cannot, quote unquote, destroy you with their thoughts. They can try if you let them. If you're very solid in your foundation, if your structure, the I structure is solid, flexible but solid, people can think whatever they want. You need to develop this solidity. When I say need, you don't need to do anything, but figure of speech. You need to develop this solidity. You're encouraged to develop this solidity so that you are not as easily influenced and swept off balance when somebody says something unkind about you or to you, okay? Because if you continue to fear what other people say, they might as well just be dragging you by your hair all over the place. You don't really belong to you. You belong to them. Okay? Now, you don't want to be anybody's possession. You don't want to be anybody's possession. in their minds or otherwise. Okay. They're saying, realize that you are not who you want to be and change it. So in this instance, I feel what they're saying is this. If this applies to you, realize that the way it makes you feel when you are too preoccupied with what other people think is probably something you don't want to feel. Okay? Identify how you want to feel. And then ask yourself the question, how do I go after that? So for example, you want to feel more self-assured. Okay? Ask your unconscious mind to show you how you can arrive at feeling more self-assured. Okay? One of the things you might get is an image of being at the gym. Perhaps one of the ways you can experience feeling more sure of yourself is by engaging in some kind of, I'm going to say, self-love exercise activity, taking care of yourself. And that's going to help you feel more solid inside of you. Okay? Because you will not magically wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden you will not care, unless God forbid something happens to your mind and you essentially lose awareness of who you are, which I think it's called having a psychotic moment. We don't want that. Okay? If you woke up tomorrow morning and completely forgot who you were, you would be so utterly confused, you would believe that you were losing your mind. In fact, that would be a loss of mind. Okay? We don't want that. That's far too much chaos. What we want is recognition and an understanding. Okay? Powerful beings do powerful things. You are a powerful being. If you keep saying to yourself things like, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy, what do you have? If you keep telling yourself, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, what do you have? Because you saying to yourself, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have that, is not going to help you achieve anything. What do you have? What do you have? Focus on what you do have and what you can do about it. Okay? You have strength. You probably have courage. You also need more time outside, more fun time, and I see you reading books. Not because you're studying something, but because it's pleasure. This is a different new way of looking after yourself, of caring for yourself, of managing your own feelings and emotions. You are becoming much more, I want to say, independent. Much more independent, which is phenomenal, because at the very beginning, what they were showing me is you being codependent on other people in terms of your emotional well-being, but you are becoming much more, I want to say the word astute and independent, emotionally independent, but not closed off. Okay? Empowerment is your solar plexus. So this is denoting your solar plexus. What I was talking about a moment ago, it's all about ego structure. Okay? They're showing me a vision of you looking in the mirror and turning away and saying, I don't like what I see. Okay? Now, this is just a metaphor. Looking in the mirror is looking at yourself and not liking what you see. This is indicative of some shadow work, which that's what I love to do. And you're turning away because you're either not willing to see yourself, or you're afraid of seeing yourself, or you don't like seeing yourself. So this is denoting some level of resistance you have towards you. And what I'm hearing is there's parts of you that want to communicate with you, but you're not giving it a chance. In other words, you're not listening to all of you. You are listening to certain parts of you. Okay? And if that's the case, you're missing out, because those other aspects of you have a lot to say and a lot of important information to share with you that would benefit you in how you live your life. But it's like you've cut yourself off from those aspects of you. Okay? You are in rejection to yourself, which all humans are. But these are the kind of aspects that would really be helpful for you in terms of big creative endeavors. Like, for example, I am seeing a person who likely represents you, who is struggling trying to figure out how to build something. Okay, whether it's a relationship, whether to build a structure, whether to build yourself in an industry, build. Okay, and you're trying to figure out how do I create this. There's a part of you that is an expert on how to do that. Okay, in your specific situation, but because you've cut yourself off from that expert, you cannot draw from that wisdom, from that knowledge. Know that you bring your past experiences from other lifetimes into this lifetime. Okay? Any experience that you have in this lifetime is very likely connected to an experience you've had in some other lifetime. Okay? It's a continuum on some level. Okay? Sometimes you start fresh, but you bring in your DNA and in your cells memory of everything that you have ever been. Okay? You might be a factory worker in this lifetime, whereas in a different lifetime, you might have been an emperor. Okay? So completely two different frequencies. As an emperor, for example, you knew how to do things that emperor is required to do. With being an emperor comes a lot of power, responsibility. You have that in your bones. You have that in your cells. You have that in your DNA. However, you cannot consciously draw from it because you've disconnected from that part of you. Why? Because you were told when you were growing up that getting too big is bad. So you kept yourself small and you continue to keep yourself small. Now, when someone said to you, maybe not these in the specific words, don't get too big or that's bad, they were trying to protect you. Okay? You took it upon yourself to take it seriously, and you, on some level, said, okay, I will not get too big. So you give yourself a limit. Okay? And every time you try to bump against that limit, you get hit in the head. Okay? It's like the universe is saying, no, you can't have more. No, it's not that you can't. It's because you've decided not to. It's because you've decided on some level to limit yourself because getting too big is bad. So this is an example that's being given to me, which I feel is a very powerful example, just to signify how we bring information through this into this physical existence that is encoded in our DNA, and how anything that we are challenged with in this life generally has its roots somewhere else, and we've already dealt with it on some level, so we have knowledge and awareness and wisdom, but we have to be able to connect with that. Okay. For example, if you grew up in a religion where the idea of mediumship was told to be bad, but you come from an incredibly powerful family of mediums or channelers, then your ability to effectively be a channel in this life or a medium is going to be cut off because you've decided that that's bad. Your environment said, no, mediums are bad, or your religion, whatever you want to call it, you're bringing. Okay, that's just an example. Now, I'm sure as I say this, I can pretty much guarantee you there are some of you listening to this who are incredibly powerful channels, but you had this message drilled to your head that things like that are bad or for evil. You may not even participate in religion. You may not even have participated in religion when you were young, but the message was there. And once it's there, once it's encoded, it becomes a part of you. It becomes part of your belief system. So likely it's not even something that's on a conscious level, though for some of you it is. Okay, I feel like I'm talking to entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs and channelers. Okay, that's who I'm talking about. Stop thinking in terms of pass or fail. Think in terms of experience, because I feel that you, pile number 2, have it drilled to your head that you cannot fail. You cannot fail. Here's the problem with that. That's almost pretty much impossible. Okay. Now, if we see failure as an experience we learn from, then failure is no longer a failure. It's experience we learn from. Now, we don't want to experience the same thing over and over again, because that says we are not learning. We don't want that. But saying we can't fail is same as saying we don't want to learn anything. Don't be afraid to fail. I also say always to my clients, if you know that something is going to fail, if you know that, will you make the attempt will you choose it? Most of you will say no. Some of you will do it anyway. In which case, well, then you're choosing to fail. It's your choice. Okay? But generally speaking, most people would say no, I choose not to fail. Okay. If you know that something is going to fail, you're not going to choose it, then don't be so afraid of it. It's your choosing not to be, it's your choosing whether you're afraid of failure or not. What if you succeed? Maybe that's what you're afraid of. Maybe you're afraid of success. Most people are not afraid of success. In fact, nobody's afraid of success. People are afraid of what success means to them and what are the consequences of success. So perhaps if success is your thing, if failure is your thing, perhaps your idea of success is connected to something that's bad. It has a meaning around something that's bad. Perhaps success to you means a lot of responsibility, too much, where you lose yourself. Okay? Perhaps what that means to you, perhaps success means to you is that you lose yourself. That may be the case in some past life. In fact, if that is your belief, then your belief comes from your experiences. But it doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be this way. In fact, it isn't. That's why I'm talking about it right now. Okay? So if you're fearful of success or failure, you're not fearful of failure. You're not fearful of success. You're fearful of what it represents. What it represents to you. Okay? Don't be afraid to fail, but don't go and do things knowing that you're going to fail. I mean, if you want to do it, but then you are choosing. If you're choosing, don't be afraid of it, because you're in control of it. Okay? Anything you choose, you are, choosing because you're in control of it, yes? Okay? The idea of failure and success is kind of running around. Let's see, what else do I have for you, pile number 2? I am not independent. Is there some codependency, quote-unquote, issues for you, pile number 2? I am not independent. Do you feel that you are not independent? Do you fear being independent? Do you fear being dependent, or are you overly dependent? There's some dependency and codependency and fear of dependency or codependency for you, pile number 2. There's a theme that's being shown there for me. Okay. And I don't feel I'm going to open that up, but if that makes any sense to you, we can always connect. That information is down below. So that's what I have for you, pile number 2. All right, pile number 3. Let's see how you're preparing yourself for your big outcomes. We have Between Two Worlds, we have Spiritual Union, and we have Healing. Okay. The first thing I want to say to you, pile number 3, is that you are moving on. You are deciding to move on. Okay. You are on a trajectory right now to something bigger and something better, but you are not in that space yet. You're not in that space right now. And I suspect it has to do with being resolute about resolving certain conflicts. Conflicts you have with other people, conflicts you have with family members, conflicts. Okay? What I'm being shown is that you are facing your conflicts. And as a result of facing these conflicts, you move through these conflicts, and these conflicts literally fall by the wayside. Okay? So there's a lot of clarity that I'm seeing, but this clarity is the result of you facing your conflicts. So if you are someone who is normally avoiding conflicts, I would say I wouldn't do that right now, because not only is this an amazing opportunity for you to get rid of these conflicts, as in by moving through them, you free yourself from them, essentially. Okay? But it also gives you a greater capacity to explore your life beyond these conflicts. And conflicts, we are conflicted on the inside, not on the outside. Outside just represents an inner conflict. Always remember, whenever we're dealing with a conflict, it's not something that's looking at us, it's within us. Okay? What is looking at us, we assign the meaning based on what we see in us. So what I want to say is, looking in the mirror shouldn't be too hard for you right now, because I feel like many things are on the surface. And I talked about looking in the mirror in pile 2, so you might want to see pile number 2 and see if there's a resonance there. But what I want to say is, it shouldn't be too hard for you to look in the mirror right now. In other words, there's some resistance here, but it's like, okay, fine, I'll deal with it. That's very freeing. I also see you moving on, as they say, and leaving things behind. Now, the spiritual union suggests to me, which is a typical Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups. I'm not a tarot reader, so I'll just tune in intuitively. But what I'm getting here, emotionally speaking, you are taking your power back. It's how I'm seeing it. Okay. This is leaving something behind that emotionally drained you, or you gave, it's almost like you gave too much to that relationship and you lost yourself in the way, or you lost yourself in the process. Okay. And somehow you're taking that back. You're also taking responsibility for your own happiness. You're no longer choosing to rely on somebody else for your happiness. Okay. That is not to say that all of you watching this who are in relationships are going to break up. Not at all. In fact, what I would say, that some of you are transiting from the way a relationship is working into another form. Perhaps this is about you facing conflicts in your relationships and realizing there is so much more beyond the conflict, but you have to resolve the conflict first. Okay? It's almost as how I see it. Something is presented to you and life says, stop. Before you move on, before you move further, you have to look at this. If you say, I don't want to, the universe is going to keep putting things in front of you to a point where eventually it's going to hit you in the face. Okay? Something needs resolution. And I want to say within your own relationship first. So obviously we have relationship with ourselves first and foremost. Okay? There's something inside of you that needs a resolution. You are conflicted. Pretty standard procedure as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Human, when it comes to human life, human existence. Recognize what the conflict is. Okay? Because likely whatever conflict is going to be shown to you is representing an inner conflict. When you have two people that are going at each other, that are not on the same page, that's called conflict. Okay? Effectively speaking, There are aspects of you that are going at each other because they're at odds. Okay? If you are a one person, but you are at odds with yourself, then you are conflicted and you are not happy. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Okay? It doesn't mean you don't have things you don't like or you'd like to change. No, but when you are at conflict with yourself, like you can feel it, then that's something that should be addressed in this time, because you are in time of healing, or there is a potential for tremendous healing. Throat chakra is very much signified. A lot of clearing and healing around your throat chakra in terms of expressing and asking for your needs to be met. Are you someone who is generally not very good at asking for your needs to be met or voicing what your needs are? That's really important, especially in relationships. Okay? Here's the thing. Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a platonic relationship, whether it's whatever relationship you have, if you are not fully satisfied in that relationship, if it's not promoting you, if it's diminishing, if it's not making you feel good about yourself, then you need to address that. Okay? Your voice plays a huge role in that right now. Why? Because you're not used to standing up or speaking for yourself. You're used to having other people stand up for you or speak for you. Right now, the universe says, no, what we're going to do is we're going to give you the opportunity where you can learn how to stand up for yourself. Sorry, not learn. That you can prove to yourself that you can stand up for yourself. And actually, it's easier than you think, because it's the thought that keep you not doing it, okay? For example, some of you may have a belief system that what you say doesn't matter. Well, of course it matters. It matters to you, okay? And if it matters to you, probably matters to somebody else. And if it doesn't matter to them, well, then maybe you're not on the same page, okay? There's a resolution that's needed in terms of your own inner conflict that is reflected in your world as a way of you not being able to ask for your needs to be met or be clear about what your needs are. My needs are these. Can you help me meet these needs? Yes or no? Of course, it's never that black and white, but that's just to give you an example. You're not used to asking for exchange, you're used to giving, okay? Which effectively likely makes you an overgiver. Now, if overgiving makes you truly happy, then by all means do it. Here's the thing. Whenever we overdo anything, it is almost always because we are overcompensating for something we believe that we are lacking. So, you being an overgiver is a sign that you overgive because you believe something inside of you is lacking. Okay? Now, if you believe something is lacking, you will hold yourself back. There is no two questions about it. The question is, what do you believe is lacking? What is lacking within you? You're not good enough? Nonsense. Good enough for what? We've talked about this on pretty much every other video since the last few months. You're not good enough for what? To be loved? You're loved. Do you love yourself? What are you not good enough if that's how you identify? Now, it's a very unfortunately prevalent condition we humans experience, this whole idea of not good enough, because that idea of not good enough stems from the wound of separation from source. Okay? We are taught from a very young age that, we have to be this in order to be loved, and love is conditional. Irrespective of how much we believe that we as humans love unconditionally, not a chance. Nothing wrong with that. We just don't understand true unconditional love. That kind of unconditional love we're not in experience of right now. The closest we come is to our mothers, and some don't even get that. The closest, and fathers, parents. or those who have experienced unconditional love by moving beyond their ego self, whether through near-death experience, whether through some extraordinary experiences, spiritual experiences. And even then, from my personal experience, even then, we can only experience a percentage, a small percentage of that unconditional love, because our physical body will not be able to withstand that level of power, because it's vibration. So we in human form don't really know what true unconditional love is. Okay? So we're not saying, hey, do the impossible, unconditionally love yourself. No, you're going to have conditions. Okay? How many conditions you have and what are those conditions, that's up to you to decide. Okay? What does it mean to love yourself unconditionally? Well, first and foremost, it means to accept yourself no matter what. If you have a resistance to accepting yourself, you will also have a resistance to accepting that part of someone in somebody. And we're all experiencing the same thing. It's called human condition. We just come in different packages and different flavors. Human emotion is shared all across the board by all humans. Okay? So we all feel the same things, we just express it differently, we go about it differently, we do with it different things. We all feel the same things. It's called human condition. Okay? I just heard, why are you not allowing yourself to be free with expressing? I feel like some of you would like, I would love for you to sing. It's like you want to express through singing. Okay? A lot of pile number 3 is about asking for what you want. It's releasing trauma and drama that comes from unfulfilled relationships in your life. Now, this could be your own unfulfilled relationships or relationships of other people, or unfulfillment in relationships of other people, like your parents, for example. Again, I think pile number 2 talked about that a little bit. Okay. You have a lot to draw from, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. You have a lot to draw from, but you keep your talents hidden. Okay? Why would you keep your talents hidden? Fear of rejection. Okay? So some of you have talents or are in a possession of certain talents. Writing is one of them. And you are keeping that hidden. Some of you are voices for angels. That's literally what they asked me to say. Some of you are voices for angels. You are keeping that as a secret. Okay? Why are you keeping it as a secret? Because somehow it's in your own mind, your own belief system. It's something to do with that being like a demonic thing. Really strange. Maybe you were born into a belief system that if you channel beings, including angels, then that's really, the devil manipulating you. So you keep that hidden, right? Whatever it is, I feel like you are looking and going, maybe this is something I would like to try. And some of you reluctantly are offering it to the world. So some of you are bringing things out of the closet to share it with the world. I keep seeing the idea of these things being hidden. And however this connects with you, that's just my main message. For some of you, this represents a drastic change in your life as a result of bringing these hidden treasures out into the world. For some of you, it's recognizing that what you have is actually quite significant. Not only is it significant, what you have to offer, people want it. In fact, people want it more and more and more. Okay? And it involves around your throat and your voice. And I'm actually seeing a microphone. So this to me symbolizes public speaking, speaking in public. This could mean that you are using your voice, channeling some information, some material, and this is what people want. And I can't quantify it because it feels like knowledge. So that's why, well, that's one of the reasons why the voice thing is really important for you. Healing the voice is very important, healing the throat. Okay. Is there anything else? I just keep seeing you having, you being, connecting with information, connecting with knowledge, but not because you have to, it's because you want to. I feel some of you, this is quite specific message, but I feel some of you are going to be moving out of ordinary jobs, your typical 3D 9 to 5, and you are going to be trying new things. Remember, prepare yourself for big outcomes. And some of these things will become things that you engage in that are going to keep you very, very, very busy. You're not there yet. I'm just seeing the process. This means to me that over the next little while, pile number 3, you are likely to be looking at saying no to the things that you want and saying yes more to the things you want. There's a bit of a bridging that you're trying to do between two worlds, the old world and the new world, and you're kind of in between. So there's a bit of resistance going on, but ultimately you're holding on to the future vision and you're just letting go of the past. So for some of you, this represents pile number 3, a big change. Now, the general message was about coming full cycle, coming full circle. So your life likely is also coming full circle. You are likely closing certain chapters, and that may take, a little while. The number 10 is represented. Perhaps October means something to me. Perhaps to you, perhaps October is a birth month for you. But to me, 10 represents end of a cycle, end of karmic cycle. So as humanity, we are going through a massive cycle, change, end of a cycle. You as a person, individual on this planet Earth are also undergoing some certain changes or of cycles or closing of cycles. And you'll notice your life is moving much faster. I know for me, Joanna, I'm astonished of how fast time moves. Like, it's just crazy. It's like Monday and it's already Friday. Are you kidding me? It's insane. But you might notice that more and more for you also. I just see you, the vision I have is you jumping on a train, which represents new journey, and you are watching your life being left behind. So this may literally represent you starting a new journey and watching your life being left behind and just waving goodbye to things and people and situations. But here's the thing, you're choosing this journey. It's not like you forced on it. You're, at least on some level, I'm being shown you're choosing it. Is it comfortable? No. Imagine the train going and you have to catch with it to jump on it. Not comfortable. You'd rather it was still and you could walk up. No. But you're in transition. Okay? So again, you're in transition between two worlds. 3 to me represents expansion. You're moving on, as they say. And that's a beautiful thing. Okay? Don't forget to be proud of yourself. That's very, very, very important. How? By looking how far you have come. How far you have grown. Look at yourself a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and recognize just how far you have come. How far you have come. Okay? I'm seeing you chiseling something out of a stone. It's almost like they're showing me, formless stone, and you're chiseling. And the chiseling process is, it takes stamina, because it's hard work. It takes courage. It takes creativity. And you are the one forging this formless rock into something that's formed. Recognize how much you have done. Okay, that's really, really important. Okay, pal number 3, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget the Black Friday promo, and also please click the button, notification button, subscribe, share, like, because it really helps the YouTube algorithm to put this video where people can see. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care and bye. I would love to ask a huge favor of you. This channel can only exist because people like you watch it. The more people watch it, the more this information that I'm channeling has the opportunity to be put into practice. And my intention with my team is to essentially help us all remember who we really are beyond our human flesh and bones, and that we are incredibly powerful beings. So if you could be so kind and share this video, like, click the notification bell, subscribe, comment. It tells the algorithm of YouTube that there is something worthwhile watching. It tremendously helps me and the team that I work with. And at the end of the day, I'm doing my part to make this world a little bit of a better place. And I hope that you can join me in the same, by just doing those little things and helping me give this information to as many people as possible. Thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with your messages.